We're here with Eric Brown. Eric, can you tell me something about your work with leaders and employees?
Well, yeah, and probably the easiest way to do that is just to share a story. And recently I was working with a large public health-related organization, a government organization, and one of the challenges they were dealing with was a large number of people in the workforce that were going to be eligible for retirement. And so they were concerned about creating some kind of coaching, mentorship program, succession planning program, so that they would have the leadership team in place to kind of continue with the legacy that was left by the current leadership team toward the future. And so what we did, we started off meeting with the leadership teams, having conversation to really learn about the challenges that they were dealing with, what objectives that they had, what they wanted to accomplish, and then from there, I spent a lot of time with employees at all levels of the organization because I really wanted to understand the challenges and the problems from every aspect of the organization so that we could come back together as a leadership team and then put together some programs and solutions that might have involved executive coaching and training programs, mentorship programs, developing materials that would ultimately create the result of being able to identify, develop leaders in the organization that could take on those roles in the future when they had people that were leaving the organization. And so after we met with employee groups and started to really understand the problems and really get their buy-in, because that's such a huge thing that I've noticed in companies that I work with, is when there are these change initiatives, they don't have support from people at all levels in the organization, and oftentimes they don't work out like the leadership team wants them to work out, and ultimately those objectives are undermined. So I spent a lot of time with the employees, understanding the problem, building trust and relationship with them, and then working with the leadership team to start developing the coaching programs that were going to be necessary, the leadership development programs that were going to be necessary so that those employees would be identified and prepared to be able to take on those leadership roles when they came available. And so the result from that is that it was a successful program. We developed various initiatives, had a lot of employee meetings, and kept people in the loop the whole way along in the process. And the organization had tremendous results from that initiative.
So what is it that makes you different from everyone else out there?
Well, one of the things that I really focus on is building bridges of trust between myself, the organization, and all of the employees and stakeholders that are involved in really making the organization successful. And so one of the things that I spend a lot of time doing is just having conversation with employees. People at all levels in the organization seem to trust me very quickly, and they're confident that what they share with me is going to be kept in confidence, and as a result of that, I'm able to learn a lot about what's really going on in an organization. And from that, being able to come up with solutions that are going to really work in that particular environment based on the trust and the relationships that I build with people.
And finally, what is it that motivates you in your work?
Well, what really has inspired me to even do the work that I'm in is that I'm really passionate about helping companies and organizations create profitable workplaces. And over the years in organizations, I see so many people that are very just dissatisfied, and there's lack of fulfillment in what they do. And I know that the companies that really outperform their competition are ones where they have an inspiring and motivated workplace. And that's just really what I'm committed to in my life's work in making that happen for organizations. I'm here with Ann Hutner. Ann, can you tell me a little bit about the work you do?
I'm an executive and leadership coach, and I've worked with dozens of senior leaders and emerging leaders to help their organizations be more productive and profitable.
How do you engage organizations in process improvement?
Well, I think the best way to illustrate that is to give you an example of a project that I worked on. And that was, of course, starting at the top with the leaders, working with a large community hospital to completely transform their organization from one of individual departments to a homogeneous service line sort of delivery system where you would have, for example, women's health or physical medicine rehabilitation. All those services would be bundled so that the customer experience was of a single seamless system. And we did that by creating multidisciplinary teams of leaders in all the relevant areas that were pertinent to that particular service delivery, and working with them to decide how best to work together and how to implement the new system, how to talk about the new system, and how to engage employees who are going to be working under this new system. And once we did that, what we found was that indeed the patients and family and visitors experience was tremendously improved. And in addition to that, we were able to create accurate ways of monitoring the costs and the profitability of those particular services.
If you were coaching me, where would you start the conversation?
I would start by helping you raise your own level of self-awareness, because when you become more self-aware, you're able to tap into your own presence and power.
What makes you stand out?
I think what makes me stand out is that I have a real sense of commitment to organizations in making an environment that inspires employees and gives them a sense of belonging and commitment, and that can only happen if you have a leader that's committed and inspired.